All right, what's going on, world? This is Boom. We're back at it again for This Is 50, man. We got two very special guests today. The cast of American Skin, you guys might not know. I mean, you guys should know. It's Omari Hardwick, and we got Milauna Jackson, correct, right?
Milana.
Milana Jackson, correct. All right. So first question, man, I want to ask you guys both after checking out the film. I want to ask you guys, what was it like taking a back seat this time for your recent casting, being that you guys both are used to leading roles?
Interesting question. Milana?
I'll start because as a Black woman in America specifically, I find myself to be a part of the supporting cast and the supporting system of the Black family. So anytime I'm asked to be a part of that in a story, and it's someone that I've worked with in the past. I worked with Nate in 2008. We worked on a project together actually. When he came to me with this idea and the script, we discussed it. I had to support him again, as we as Black women often do. A lot of times I understand the importance of Black men talking about their pain and their experience regarding the police. And in spite of the fact that we are also experiencing this, we still have to understand it's just different for a Black man, particularly raising a Black son.
And you, Omari?
Um, I think, you go as far as you go in life, Bryson, based on how much you give, and from the standpoint of being number one on a call sheet, or if that's, kind of what you're centering your question around, you get to, obviously you get to give, as because if your core is a giver, your core is a giver. You're either a giver or a taker by nature. But it's really, it's incumbent upon people to be able to give. I think what I always liked about Robert De Niro, for example, is I always felt like he was ultimately arguably one of the top 10 artists to ever do what he did. But when his career was said and done, in my opinion, Bryson, he would take on certain roles that were just about supporting the story. Adversely to Milana's point, who I've known since '06, '07, and we were castmates on a project that didn't quite come out. She's always been a giver in that way. Obviously a very physically attractive woman who internally was equally as beautiful. And so when Milana and I met, she was even a giver in the sense of, hey, I'm trying to set you up with somebody. Like, it's kind of, you can laugh now, but she just is like that. Could it have been Omari and Milana dating? Sure. But Milana was like, hey, man, I think you like this person. So when you ask her and she answers the way she answers, I can say proof. She just is that. What the world might not know is Milana was up for the role of Tasha against Naturi Naughton. So now you're getting the information as to who the other person of competition was. And this is no slight to either one of them, because that was a very sought after role, and those two were the finalists in that. So super gifted, again, very, very beautiful inside and out, obviously. But, and the world will know more about the internal part of her beauty as they get to know her more. But in terms of the internal faction of a movie, you know what I mean, Bryce? And not the outside of like, O's leading, Milana's the lead, Nate's the lead, Michael B's the lead. I mean, the window is small. And when the window is talked about, people forget to talk about the story within the window, the picture within the frame. And for this, bro, the picture was paramount. The lead character to me in this movie is the story. I mean, and sometimes you got to do the story because it's such a great lead character that you remember those moments when grandparents would look back at your litany of work and go, wait, you said no to this project? Even if the grandparents are rolling over in the grave when doing so, they would have an issue with you saying no to a project like this, if you catch my drift. So the real lead sometimes within that window of small space for Black people to work, particularly Black women. We don't have a large range of or quantity of those who look like you, Bryson, working. We really don't. It's not a large window. So when you're in that space of a window, sometimes you gotta like focus a little bit more, be above the fray. Don't take, you know, a movie based on number 1 on the call sheet or number 2 or number 7 or number 13. Sometimes you really got to go, what do I want my legacy to be about in terms of being a storyteller? And the story that Nate was telling, bro, was so paramount. That became the lead character for people like Milauna and myself. But a great question, interesting question. I'm glad the culture gets to hear us answer.
No doubt, no doubt. And then speaking of Nate's story, man, Nate is known for making these compelling, like, I don't even want to call them films. They're like documentaries, I would say. I would ask both you, Omari and Milauna, man, what was it like, or what was the conversation with Nate like after reading the script?
When did he hit? Lana, did he hit you right away?
It was like the turnover was extremely fast. I will say, I had the opportunity and the pleasure, and I'm saying this from a place of love, of spending time with Mamie Till, Emmett Till's mom, before she passed away. I was able to meet her. And one of the things that kept resonating in my mind was, why would God put me in this position? Of all the women in the world that I would encounter and be invited into her home and to see and experience this legacy right before my eyes, because my mom taught me and told me about Emmett Till, obviously being from Chicago. And then to meet Trayvon Martin's mother, Sabrina, and then to move to Los Angeles and to be adopted by a woman who has named me her goddaughter. And she lost her son at the hands of the Inglewood Police Department. I kept saying, why would this happen? Why? I don't have kids right now. So why am I meeting these women who have lost their children, their child, to the hands of men who are seen as authority figures, wants to secure the community? To receive this project in the short time span that I got, God was preparing me for what was forthcoming. Because what I needed to understand was, there is no amount of justice that can ever erase the pain, the void that is placed in a mom's heart when the system assassinates their child. So I was given the script. It was a very short turnover. He gave it to me. I read it. I absolutely was on board. We had to discuss some character development stuff. Some of the things that I think are very important are, as an actress, is ensuring that I know exactly what the intention behind this particular story is and the characters in the story. And so once we discussed that and it was extremely clear, I think I was at work maybe that next week. It was very fast. And this is an independent project. And this is one of the things, in spite of the star cast and the people that are involved in the project, it was an independent project.
Quite independent.
It was passion. This had nothing to do with any other motivating factors that one would see for saying yes to a project. So it really had to be something you believed in. And I told him that, and Nate knows that, as well as Omari knows that when I put myself into something, I'm going to stand behind it and I'm going to support it, because this is the legacy that I leave right now, since I don't have children currently. And so I just feel like that was my, so to speak, that was the driving force to pull from these women something that you can't really act. You just have to kind of tap into and empathize. And no one sees it coming when it happens to women, or mothers or fathers. Nobody sees that coming, and no one prepares themselves mentally to handle it after the fact, especially when there's no justice.
To piggyback Milana's point, Bryson, it was a point where within that journey that she speaks of, that for me, inclusive in this, the moments of wondering why God would introduce one to one, or to one person to another person. There were moments where I got very close to Muhammad Ali before he passed. Like Milauna was getting close to people she mentioned. I got close to Nikki Giovanni, Sonia Sanchez, still here on Earth, obviously. You're getting close to these activists for reasons that acting class can't bring you. And that's Milana's point. Um, you know, you're laying in bed next to Muhammad Ali, excuse me, and you're realizing that he definitely, Bryson would say that he was greatest, but he absolutely understood that God was the greatest. He would say that he was pretty, but he absolutely understood that his prettiness was only as far as he could throw his boomerang called justice. You know, that mantra that some of us are raised with, which is, you know, you stand for nothing, you fall for everything. And so in that journey that Milana speaks to, we ironically found ourselves in, you know, 20 minutes outside of St. Louis in a place that the world now knows called Ferguson. And Milana and I, she might have forgotten, Milana Jackson and Omari Hardwick were marching next to each other, probably season 4 of Power. So this was, you know, 4 years post her having read against Naturi for the role of Tasha, if not, yeah, about 3 to 4 years later. And we're marching next to each other out of nowhere. But it's not out of nowhere, right, Bryce? It's not out of nowhere. So there's purpose, man. All of that stuff is linear for a reason because life is not linear, right? It's connect the dots and it's latitude, it's longitude, then it's a circle. It's a full thing. So there were moments that in our career that you get posed with this thought of, you know, two roads diverge, in which direction do you want to go? Or you get posed with that question. And sometimes you realize, you know, you're thankful to the masters or craftsmen that were around you and aiding in your craft and your toolbox, getting pretty sharp as an actor. You know, for you to be able to do a fadeaway jump shot different from other actors or actresses, sure. But at the end of the day, man, what can't be taught is who you are. You know what I mean? You can't, you got to know who you are. And so some of those times where even Milana and Omari are marching next to each other for the rights represented in that march, that being Michael Brown, but for the rights of people who look like Michael Brown or Freddie Gray, you could even make it poetic and go brown in color, gray in color. We're made ambiguous, like we got no color. We're made very much about color, like we are only thought of as brown and black, meaning that we don't shed blood that is actually the same color as the same person who might be the person to take our lives and look at the bloodshed and have no problem just putting yellow tape around that and then driving off. And then, of course, getting off in court, if that be the fate for them versus the fate for the parent, Sabrina, Tracy, the litany of parents, mothers and fathers who have to say goodbye to this brown or black or gray kid who now has spilled his blood or has blood spilled all over the pavement. It was very necessary for us to have these moments, I guess, for the women that Milana met, for the men that I've met, for the journey that we've had called that of being an actor. At some point, you got to look in the mirror and go, am I going to do work that really matters, or am I just going to work? So, you know, Milana, you're already setting up a legacy. Whether you got kids or not, the legacy is the legacy. So when they're born into it, they'll know what mama did. So I don't want to really rectify your statement, but you got to remember that everything you do is done as if kids are having you know, space to walk on earth presently, like they came out of your womb. You're birthing that work, so they're going to be birthed in what you already birthed. So that's what Nate was really setting up. And it's great that Shane Bryson, who plays, you know, Jordan, the kid filming, it's great that Sierra, who plays Kai, the other kid, it's great that they got a voice in this story where absolutely Officer Randall, played by Bo, brilliant young actor who doesn't look like Milana, Nate, or Omari. He's a great actor. But as much as the officers had a voice, Theo Rossi had a voice. I mean, Milana said it. It's kind of an all-star cast, but we all did it for the righteousness needed of telling a story also so that the Shane and the Sierra can go off into their career and remember, yo, I did a movie years ago with these pretty highly touted actors. And I mean that, you know, in the politically correct way of denoting actor as female included. Mm-hmm. And here I am now kind of knowing how to frame my career because I got down with Milana and I got down with Nate. And on my right was Omari and there was Theo Rossi and there was Bo. And you know, that's cool for me as a father, Bryson, to know that Shane and Sierra get to kind of say that foundationally, this movie is something that they could trampoline off of. And it'll be wonders to see what career choices they make, bro, based on having done this movie. That's cool for me. That's very exciting for me to see what they end up becoming and doing because they did this movie.
For sure, for sure. Now, Omari, I'm gonna ask you this last question. You were in the scene, that's why I'm asking. But it was a scene in the film where it was a point of dialogue that read, "White people buy the music that Black people pay for with their lives." And you just being in the room when they said that, like, I mean, you've been hit with so many memes of you pop locking and whatnot and all the fun and jokes of music, man. But I want to ask you something, like, as far as music goes, with something that serious being said, what was it? How did it resonate with you differently than, you know, being a Black man in America?
What was funny is it came from a great question, Bryce. It came from Maurice McCrae, better known as Mo McCrae, who I met kind of as a mentor when I was living in South Central. He went to Washington High School, no stranger to the world of stage. That was a magnet program for theater. He's from South Central, raised by his grandma, raised enough by his mom, but a lot by his grandma. The proverbial story, right? No father, never met his father. A lot like 50, speaking of 50. Like, or you representing that.com, right? Like, these are men that have never even met their fathers. You got LeBron James, who I can't say that he's never met his father, but as far as we know as a culture, he hasn't met his father. And then all of a sudden you got Mo playing an inmate, having never met his father in real life, and saying that white people listen to the music that then we spill blood for making. These people, at times, when you think about it, and Milauna definitely is inclusive in this, these actors, when I say these people, they know me first and foremost, Bryson, as a music guy. Foundationally, bro, I'm actually music and poetry. Milauna knows that. Like, people forget it. I'm sure she laughs all the time when people go like, yo, why is he trying music? Like, that's actually who he is. Like, even as an actor, Bryce, and I'm sure you agree, my movement as an actor is that of music. It's not just athleticism, it's music. I will say this, we are a beautiful mess of a minimizing culture. We are not into maximizing, we are into minimizing. So we've done a great job equally, and Nate has stated this. Milauna heard it on the prior room of Zoom that we had to converse in about 30 minutes ago. And Nate said, no, I can't tell a story about only the hand of white skin holding the black gun that shoots the black kid. Because equally, if figuratively, and not through bullets, but it is through bullets also, we shoot each other as brown people, as black people. So that conversation needs to be had as well, which is why he had the chief be a black chief in the movie. And it's true because we do it in the figurative sense every day when we minimize and we make memes. Denzel in a crying scene in the movie Glory, Milauna and I never grew up having to contend with watching the brilliant Denzel or Cicely Tyson in a scene where a meme was made of the beautiful art that they gave us. What's happening is our culture has become so minimizing that we feel maximum by taking some of our people that are not more maximum than others. Milauna and Omari and Nate and Mo McCrae are not better than any other black person, including a 5-year-old who's at kindergarten somewhere on virtual right now. We have just been given a maximum stage. So we make ourselves feel maximum by taking those of us given a maximum stage and microphone and truncating them into a small space so to make us feel better. That's all that memeing is. We didn't get raised in that generation of doing such. The new generation is raised in that. The viewers and listeners of your podcasts, of your interviews. Denzel doing a crying scene in Glory, those tears were made immortal. He got an Oscar because of those tears. We get memes because of our tears. Bro.
Oh.
So we the trophy is a meme. Like, hey, Omari, you done made it. They made a meme of you crying on the shower floor because your child in the show Power died. Oh, Milauna, hey, I know you're crying in this movie American Skin. We're gonna kind of make fun of your face when you're crying. Really? It's not only our want or desire to feel maximum by minimizing someone who looks like us, it's also our fear, Bryson, of not facing our pain and our vulnerability. And so we sign up on theater night or on TV night to watch beautiful artists that look like us, but only for certain scenes. As long as those scenes have us looking of fortitude, of strength, of power. But I mean, Mary J. Blige, no slights to her music that got a little bit more lit, and that being light. Bryson, Milauna, and anybody else, I'll speak for in saying this. I like Mary J. Blige when it was all about pain. That's the one I like. So we still are trying to figure out how to embrace that pain. And shout outs to Black women that aren't afraid to do it, because Bryson, we have a little bit more license because men are babies, dog. Flat out, men are babies. So we act like we not, but we babies. We not stronger than no woman, no day of the week, nor twice to 3 times on Sunday. So because of us being able to be babies and have what we want and complain about this that we want versus that which we should be only focused on that we need and want are very different. We get to be more babyish, bro. And we support each other, commiserating over brewski or whiskey over, yo, this is what should have happened, what coulda, woulda, shoulda. And women just keep trucking. They don't necessarily get along the way that they should, but they keep trucking. And so I think what we need to learn as a culture is when to make a meme of each other. Bro, we gotta laugh at each other. My greatest post ever, and if quantity is the value or the barometer for a post, I got 1 million something likes for being silly. For being silly, for being self-effacing. So obviously laughter is needed. I need to laugh at Omari. But we need to remember, yo, some things are severe and serious. We're not supposed to be laughing at that. We haven't been given permission as much. And so for Milauna, again, specifically as a Black man, and I definitely think of me as a black male feminist. I do. I think I'm a male feminist. There needs to be this space that our women, like Milauna said, she met Sabrina, she saw her pain, she invited it in. There needs to be that same space, Bryce. I feel that way. Because for me, Bryson, if you got men watching me and going, yo, oh, I rock with you. Yeah, but you got to rock with all parts of me. You know, it's hard for me to cry. But it's so easy for me to cry when the camera goes go. So don't make fun of me then, because I'm finally crying. Don't tell me when to cry and when not to cry. And so this movie is one big, bold, audacious statement of moxie and confidence where Black people are going, conversation, even giving white cops part of that conversation, but also pain. Don't run from it. Wait for it, wait for it, wait for it. We got to be better at that. We got to just embrace all that is us. And that includes a lot of tears that are alligator tears, bro. So.
I have to say, regarding the protest, I did forget. Thank you for the reminder. It was for my birthday, actually. I felt powerless, as I often feel when it comes to these kinds of scenarios as a woman. Who do I call on when I need help? Who do I reach out to in terms of servicemen if someone decides to come in through my door? So I didn't know what to do. It was my birthday. I was like, I'm going to spend my birthday this year doing something that edifies my soul and the community. And I've not been to Ferguson. I'm from Chicago. I've been to St. Louis, I'm sure, but not Ferguson. And I happened to see Omari. It was a moment of serendipity, because what it did do for me and my mom, because my mom accompanied me there, was remind me of what matters. It reminded me of, although how I felt powerless, I actually wasn't tapping into my own power, which is something that we have to remind ourselves of, is that we're not powerless. This is a system that was built to not give us power, to strip us of our power. And we believed it. We believe that we don't have power, but God gave us power, and we can govern ourselves. We have dominion over ourselves. And so I use that moment, and I feel like God reminded me upon seeing Omari that we are a brother and sister here in a united front to support those who feel powerless. And although I felt like I was one of those people, I was reminded quite fast that I was not. So thank you for that.
Yeah, of course. And I mean, there'll be a lot of more interviews with her, Bryson, because her career is it's such a different time. God truly is the one who stops time. So even if you feel away, Bryson, like you want to be at a place at this point in your career. You know, I don't know what your ultimate dreams are, brother, but I had to really learn over this, and the birthday was 2 days ago. And I think, and I appreciate you starting the interview with saying happy birthday, because I realized that day, because I've been going through a lot, but I realized that day, yeah, but some of us really have to figure it out quicker than others, that we're only birth to birth.
Mm-hmm.
Bryson, you only birth to birth, dog. Some people make it actual, you know, going to the hospital and hearing the doctor say, if you don't want to, you know, preemptively know what the gender is, hearing the doctor say, it's a boy, it's a girl. But I mean, all kind of birthings, art, story, love. Like, you know what's crazy, bro? Presently, the only thing that's being taught that should be birthed is hate. It's crazy. The only thing people are teaching that one should birth is hate. And they even make the teaching sexy, so you don't realize you're being taught to hate. So Milauna being able to figure that out 5 years ago, and then be reminded, O uses his platform different. Whether the definition of Omari being at a different stature than Milauna at the time would make it where the definition leans toward Omari's the more prominent artist at that point, not in talent per se, but in stature. I was able to remind her, yeah, but Milauna, I'll always die off this earth with the thing of activism and activating the stage that God has given me being most imperative. I will. Whether I'm called corny or not, I will. My voice is too big. Ali was not buried as the greatest pugilist of all time. He wasn't. He wasn't. And all that he ever talked about was his pugilism. I've never heard of. But at the end of the day, all those same people that might have been the grandkids of the same people that had an issue with him activating his stage and his voice and going, Viet Cong never did nothing to me. Why am I going to fight them? They're not my issue. My own brethren in this country are my issue. Sometimes they're colored white. Sometimes they're colored my own. Malcolm X died at the hand of black people, his own black people. So Ali didn't say that it was only white people. He said our country, that's where my fight needs to be. And then they put him in jail when he could have been out of jail doing the fight for the country. The system is interesting. And you have an opportunity to placate the system enough where the system can be aided, but equally you could decide not to placate it and go, hey man, I'm okay being a part of the system because it is what it is. You got to tell your kids life is not fair, but what could be fair is that you do your thing. You ain't got to rock the same Nikes everybody else rocks. You can walk and rock yours in a very different way. And so I appreciated that brothering moment and sistering moment between Milauna Jackson and Omari Hardwick, because she equally was reminding me and affirming that I was in the right pocket too. Because here we are marching, you know, and I'll always march. I'll always, until there's, you know, I think Westbrook is an incredible young athlete, but I like him more because he marches. So, you know, this movie surely will do something, Bryson, for a lot of people. And the conversations just need to continue to be had for our people. I'll never give up on that. The reality that our people equally need those conversations. So again, whether you're where you need to be in your career or want to be, bro, just make sure you keep asking the right questions. That's what I would say. Because the right questions lead to not the right answers, but it leads at least to the conversation that could lead to the, I mean, what did Tupac say, Bryson? I ain't saying that I'm gonna, you know, change the mind of the,
change the world, but I will spark the brain of the person that changes the world.
That was one of the greatest quotes I've ever. He said, and bro, and Milauna, he said that at like 23 years old.
Yes.
Let's remember when he left Earth.
Yeah.
He was 25. He said that at like 23. Like, okay. No wonder Afeni had issues with you. She might have had battles with drugs, but you are so brilliant. It's not easy to raise a brilliant kid. It's not. That's not an easy thing, because you want your kid to be normal some days, but brilliance is not normal. So it's high frequency. So I would just say that, Bryce, keep asking the right questions so the sparked mind can get to the process of answering the questions correctly. And Nate is doing that. The brother's just highly in tune with that. You know what I mean? He's really in tune with that. So easy for me and Milauna to sign up, because we knew what we were signing up for when we saw each other, you know, in Ferguson. So it's the same thing. This movie is a march. It truly is a march.
For sure, man. Well, like I said, American Skin comes out next month on all platforms. And like, if you guys don't know, Milauna Jackson and Omari Hardwick star in the movie, and it's a great film. Make sure everybody goes to see it. This is a film that not just every Black person or every Black descent needs to see, but for everybody in today's society to see. So, Omari, Milauna, I want to thank you guys for taking the time out to just have this interview with me, and look forward to everything you guys got going on outside of the movie in the future. So
thank you. January 15th, you said next month. We have to.
Okay, so January 15th.
Yeah, Friday. We Dr. King's birthday, bro. We rocking.
Yes.
All right, cool. That makes even more sense. So, look, okay, January 15th, the American Skin comes out on all platforms, so make sure you go check that out. Like I said, we got Omari Hardwick and Milauna Jackson. Thank you once again, you guys, for taking the time out. Appreciate you guys. And just keep on doing it. Keep on trucking. So,
You too, King.
Like I said, this is 50. We out of here. Peace.
Peace.
Bryson.